Welcome to Q&A, Social Security Disability Today. This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, representing you and your Social Security and disability needs. If you have a problem or questions regarding Social Security and disability, call attorney Anthony Reeves. Here's your host, attorney Anthony Reeves.
What was the longest job you had? Now, people want to know, why do you ask that question? Okay, I'm going to tell you from a couple of different reasons from a representative. First of all, when people come to me, when I ask them what's the longest job they have, and I usually say, what's the longest job you've had in the last 15 years? It tells me a couple of things. If you tell me the longest job that you've had in the last 15 years you had was like a year, that tells me right out the gate, not automatically, but I'm fairly confident that if you, in 15 years, the longest job you held was about a year, you probably don't have enough quarters of coverage. Now, I've been surprised a few times. I've had people who've literally done a lot of temp work here and there, and it collectively came up to where they had coverage. But most times when I hear of somebody who's told me that they've only worked short periods of time, but sporadically, that lets me know that I'm dealing with a supplemental security income case, an SSI case. It's not a problem, but it tells me a lot. The other thing that it does is that depending on the kind of work that you did, it will give me an indication of what your primary insurance amount is. Now, you're stopping, you're saying to yourself, what? Okay. When you work, Social Security takes out money not only for your retirement, but also for disability. Almost yearly, I don't know if people still get them, but almost on an annual basis, you'll get a notice that says, if you were to retire today, this is what you would get. If you were found disabled today, this is what you would get. That dollar amount that they tell you if you were disabled today is the one that most reps are curious about. And a lot of that is dependent on the kind of work that you did. So guess what? You're going to find that people who are high, I wouldn't say high wage earners, but somebody who's been doing work making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year is probably going to have a higher dollar amount. Now, you're going to say, for our purposes, why do I need to know that in terms of the representative? Well, one, that means that there's a greater opportunity for a greater back pay for you and a greater opportunity for fees for us. You're like, oh, so that's why y'all trying to figure out how much money you're going to make. Absolutely. Let me think. I want you to pause and think about this for a second. I've had this happen. You come to me and you told me that in the last 15 years, you've only worked maybe 3 or 4 months at a time. That means you're an SSI case. Guess what that means to me? It means that if I win your case, the back pay is probably may or may not be that big, depending on how long it is. Let's just say for instance, that you come and we get you approved and we get you a year and a half worth of back pay. The max they'll pay you is like $700 bucks a month. That's the max. But remember, SSI is a resource program. So that means, let's say during that time period, you're a single father and you have kids that you're getting money from the baby, for the baby's mom, for child support. So that means the $700 a month that you get is reduced by how much money you're getting from child support. And they factor that in. Maybe the reduction is now $500 a month. Okay, so instead of $700 a month for that period of time, you're only looking at $500. So let's take it a step further. Let's say you also got a lump sum settlement because you got hurt on the job. Well, that reduces it too. So now we've reduced it all the way down to where the most you get per month is maybe $300 bucks. So instead of a year and a half worth of back pay at $700, we got a year and a half of back pay at $300. Now, flip the script to somebody who's worked 15 years and they have a primary insurance amount where if they're found disabled, they're going to get $1,000 a month. Guess what? That's $1,000 a month, all guaranteed. Meaning, if they're found disabled going back a year and a half, take the 5-month waiting rule out of the equation. If for those months that they're eligible to receive benefits, they're going to get $1,000. Unless there's something weird floating going on, like an offset from workers' comp or an offset from a pension plan. If none of those things apply and it's just a normal garden variety, you're going to get that money. So what happens is that from a business standpoint, and they're looking at the representatives trying to figure out why they need to know this, what the person's doing. That's why we're asking that question. Not trying to be funny. It's just recognizing that the ability to make money is a lot better for somebody who's worked a long period of time, as opposed to who's very hardly worked at all. Now, that's from the financial standpoint. Also, from the past work standpoint, it also gives us an idea of what types of jobs you've done in the past, what types of skills you've acquired. And typically the ones you've done the longest is the ones you really acquired a lot. Not that you have to necessarily be at one really, really long. In most cases, it could be 3 to 6 months to acquire certain skills. But depending on the job you were at, the one you did it the longest, usually you've done a lot of things during that time period in addition to what the normal job is. So let's say you started someplace as a secretary. Let's say you worked for a law firm for 10 years. You started there as a secretary, but you left as a paralegal. So guess what? During that time period, you did a whole bunch of other things that normally a secretary would do or a paralegal. That's information that we want to know. So that's why we want to know what jobs you had for the longest. Financial standpoint and from a skill standpoint.